So, what is DevOps? DevOps is a term that is thrown around a lot, especially in full-stack engineering projects, web development projects, even in some design projects now and marketing projects as well. But do we fully understand what DevOps is, why it's valuable, and how it can actually boost the efficiencies and productivity of your project? Well, that's what I'm going to go into in this video today. First and foremost, with DevOps, a key to having success is making sure that you have some form of a project management methodology. At YohDev, we use Agile project management. And in Agile project management, there's things like user story writing, backlog refinement, sprint planning, daily stand-up meetings with the development team, and routine touch bases with stakeholders where we demo progress or we just explain the progress that was made in this current sprint, and then we talk about what's coming for the next sprint. So having that methodology and those processes in place allows us to deliver a consistent experience not only to the stakeholders but also to the development team so that they know what to expect, how to work, how to communicate, and how to document their projects. Another big piece of DevOps is having someone on the team that fully understands the ins and outs of the project, the technology, and how we're actually going to deliver a preview link of some sort for your web app, your website, or whatever you're building, so that we can use a method called CI/CD, or continuous integration, continuous delivery / deployment. Basically meaning that as we work on new features and we work on enhancements, we have a process in place that will automatically deploy the changes to a safe, secure staging environment for the stakeholders to test their features, review the front-end design, basically just review what we've been working on as a whole in an environment that's safe. Once everything's approved and ready to roll, we can then merge, which is merging our code changes onto the main code base, and then deploying that live in one swift automated process. So that's another big piece of DevOps, is a CI/CD. Another thing that actually goes hand in hand with CI/CD is code versioning. So at YohDev, we use GitHub for all of our code versioning, and this allows us to really understand the history of the code base, which changes are being deployed, which files and things might be causing issues, because we can actually see the history of the code changes. And it also allows us to do something called branching, which basically means we're gonna take a user story or a task that we need to do for your project, and we're gonna create a separate branch off of the main code base to work on those changes. Then we open up a pull request, which in some platforms it's called a merge request, but essentially what a pull request is hey, we're gonna actually say, hey, we've got the changes ready to roll. Our CI/CD pipeline, which we just discussed, has ran its testing, it spun up a staging link for us, and now we're ready to do manual code reviews, and the team will do peer reviews to make sure the code is following our standards, everybody's coding in the same fashion, and then the stakeholders have a staging link where they can go and test the features and the enhancements. And then when everything's good to roll, we merge that pull request onto the main code branch so that it goes live. And that process of versioning is very important, not only to understand the history and the story of your code base, but also in case of emergencies, you're able to track down bugs quicker, and you can also revert changes completely, which is a big benefit. And that's like one of the big values of DevOps, is being able to have disaster recovery and quick revert of your code so that you can immediately get back to having a working app if something got pushed and it was broken. Another thing that DevOps best practices will follow is creating issues within your GitHub repo to track important things like user stories, bug fixes, enhancements, and being very well documented on what those acceptance criteria are for fixing those issues, And those issues actually act as documentation for your code base as well, that you can use to kind of track back and find different things that were worked on or different issues that popped up in case they pop up again. And then one of the cherries on top with DevOps is automated testing. So after you have an MVP, ideally even during the development of MVP, the engineers and developers will be creating automated tests that can test their code in the CI/CD pipeline automatically when a PR is open. So when you open a pull request, those CI/CD pipelines can run automated tests to test for things like code coverage, like how well is your code actually tested, meaning that, you know, a perfect number would be 100%, that like 100% of this code base is tested, which is really an unrealistic, you know, goal there, but that you get the point, like, you know, how much of your code's actually tested. Then you can do things like unit tests, where you can test specific functions within your application to make sure that, you know, you get the outcomes you want when that pipeline runs. And then if you know, have something that's broken or the unit test comes back and fails, guess what? That pipeline actually it'll tell the developers that, hey, your tests are failing, you got to go fix it. And more importantly, it'll prevent deploying bugs to production, which will keep your app running safely, smoothly, and it won't break and potentially cost money while you have something broken like out there in the live world. One final thing, and it's something that is very important, and a lot of applications that we see that come through our door end up not having this piece, and it's routine maintenance and updates of important packages and software that's required to run your application, and making sure that these packages and softwares are updated to the latest stable versions, and that all security patches are deployed, and things like that falls under your DevOps processes as well. And you can actually have automated tests running. There's one on GitHub called Dependabot that can actually run automatically when there's updates available for the packages that you're using to, you know, build your application. And it'll tell you that which ones are outdated, and it'll actually automatically open a PR. I can link a resource below to share if you're interested in looking into Dependabot or any other automated tests. That is, you know, that's the last thing of DevOps that I want to discuss here. So we talked about methodology, we talked about CI/CD, code versioning, updates. Overall, DevOps encompasses, it's basically like the framework and the different components of your project and your code base that need to work consistently. And if things aren't working consistently as they should, that's when you can review your DevOps processes, fix things, and make sure that things are moving smoothly. Something that's not really, I guess, the forefront for our clients and stakeholders might be like setting up processes for local development. That still would fall under DevOps as well. We can talk about local development in another video, but, you know, making sure that your developers can work safely locally is another big key component of DevOps, and making sure that they're not blocked, because in most cases when you're working on a full stack engineering project, your dev team is billed either part-time or full-time, and if they're blocked on things because process is slow, it's clunky, it's broken, you're burning money essentially every minute that a developer is stuck and can't work. So having someone to own the DevOps processes and making sure that developers aren't blocked is very key to making sure your project is efficient, everybody's productive, and you're producing the highest quality end product once you're done the phase of development that you're in. If you really enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And click the link below if you want to have a free discovery session with YohDev to dive into the requirements of your projects, develop some user stories, and get a roadmap in place to know the path forward for your next software project. Take care.